Hello, and welcome to the first episode of What If It Were Good Though, with your host, Malcolm Ocean. Um, I have opinions about products, and I thought I would try making product reviews. I have no idea if there will be more of these, but seems like the sort of thing I might make more of. At the moment, I have one particular product I would like to review, which is this brand new um, uh, sunrise alarm clock that I got. I got it because the old one that I had that was working fine started glitching out, and I couldn't find another version of that one for sale. It had worked fine for a couple of years, seemed reasonable to just buy another one. But this seemed like the latest and greatest product by the same company, and so I bought it instead. And as far as I can tell, it's a piece of shit. It costs $50 more than the previous one did, and the only additional features are this hole and a USB port on the back for charging your phone, and an aux audio input on the back. I really don't understand what that's about. Um, so this guy has one job, right? The job is daytime. You know, nighttime, daytime. That's this guy's job. And they've decided to give him a bunch of other jobs, like playing sound, which I can see why people would want that, but it's really not what I'm looking for. The first thing I do when I get a product like this is figure out how to make the sound go away. Anyway, so I just got this. I plugged it in. It's got a reasonably decent, kind of touch interface for setting up all of the stuff. It's nice if you want to be able to set, the time to something 56 to be able to push a down button instead of just like having to push up 56 times like you would on a watch. But honestly, you can manage that with just two buttons, one that's up and one that's down. You still don't need a whole touch interface for that. Sure, the touch interface lets you configure a lot of very fancy settings. It's fine. The old one had a visual interface too, although instead of being full touch, it was just like four buttons underneath, and that seemed to work pretty well as well. Although those buttons, the four sort of capacitive-ish buttons on the previous one, were the thing that messed up and started going, which made me need to get the new one. So I got this, and I've got the time set, and I managed to get the alarm set and get it so that it would not play any audio when I woke up. And I thought, okay, that's pretty good. And then I realized, oh shit, this motherfucker has no buttons. It's got no buttons. There isn't a single button on this. And to underscore why this is important, I want to show you the other one, which is heavier. I've just plugged it back in. It seems like it's not glitching out now, so maybe I'll go back to using this for the time being. But yeah, so it's heavier, it's thicker, it doesn't have a hole, which is kind of unfancy of it, right? But it's got a bunch of amazing buttons on the top. So check this out. We have an alarm. This is the old one. We have an alarm 1 button, which lets you toggle whether alarm 1 is on or not. We have a separate alarm 2 button that lets you toggle whether alarm 2 is on or not. There's a snooze button on the side. I didn't know that. The snooze doesn't make as much sense when it comes to light as it does to sound. So, yeah. And then on the top, there's also a button to turn on the light. And then you can also adjust the brightness of it. So you can kind of reach over, and just turn the light on or just turn the light off. You can just kind of do that pretty directly. There's one for the radio as well, which again, I don't use. But yeah, and then, it's got these 4 buttons down here, and it's got, these really clear displays of, is alarm 1 like on or off. So pretty straightforward, works pretty well. I want to see, I think the new one is brighter than the old one, which might be literally the only thing better about it. Okay, so this is the old one. And the new one, it's like, I don't even know how to use this as a light quickly. It's like light, okay, I press light, and now I'm gonna, sorry, you're not seeing the interface here. I'm pretty new to this whole thing of product review. Okay, well, whoa, we're getting some trippy, wait, oh. I just turned the thing off, right? See, the one button that this new one does have is a bullshit capacitive button on the top that when touched with your hand, oh, sorry, I've got the the other one is confusing what's going on here. When touched with your hand, makes things go kind of a dim red for a moment. You can barely see it here. It's designed for, late night kind of sunset reading, or like, reading before bed or whatever. Although I don't know if you're supposed to read in light this day. Interestingly, this one creates like pretty substantial scan lines on the phone camera, which suggests, I don't know what kind of like LED or frequency thing it's got going on, but so in the process of trying to demo this one, I accidentally turned the light off because it's got this weird tappy, touchy button that is of nebulous size. It looks like it's a couple inches big. Like I can tap it here or I can tap it over here. Maybe not. Right? Sorry, you weren't seeing that. Like I can tap it here, maybe. Right? Like why don't you have a button? You could have a button. Buttons are good technology. They have existed for a long time. This is extremely fancy and extremely bad. It could just be a button. The other issue with capacitive buttons is, of course, you can't have too many of them. Whereas with this one, you get to have lots of buttons, and they all have these nice little distinct ridges so you can tell which button you're pressing. So the nice thing with this is I could be laying in bed and, like whatever's going on here, like, so this is again the old one. Suppose I'm like, oh, it's morning, but I didn't have an alarm set for this morning, but I want daytime. I could just push this button, and lo and behold, I get some free daytime. This is amazing, right? With this guy, in order to get daytime going, I gotta already be awake, right? Like I've gotta be cogent enough to like lean over and look at the thing and hit the home button and then hit the light button. Okay, I guess it's just 2 button presses if I've already got the light configured to be 25, but suppose I had the light actually configured to be much lower because the night before I was reading in bed or something and I wanted the light dim. With this one, I just have a simple light up button and I can just push the button to make the light brighter or dimmer. Like I can just push it. With the old one, I can't do that. With the new one, I can't do that. So, yeah. The other thing is I thought that this one forgot my alarm setting when I went and turned the alarm off, which again in this I had to do by first tapping. I had to first tap home, which I can't show you here, but it shows up with just one button. So I had to tap home, then I had to tap alarm, and then I had to tap alarm off. And when I did that, when I later went back to alarm, it showed me a completely different set of settings than I had turned on before. And I was like, what's going on there? Like right now it's showing me there's an alarm set for 9. Well, wait, where is that? Oh, it's alarm 2, which I have to like press a whole other interface to find my way to. Oh God. And right. And so this icon means the alarm is off. My alarm is off, and then this button turns it on, as opposed to just having a simple toggle. It's like these two swap places, and you get it. Anyway, all that you can get used to, but you still can't, like, especially as someone with fingernails. Like I'm a guy with fingernails usually, and if I reach out and I try to touch these buttons, it can be. I guess I just need to angle my finger a little bit. But compared to an actual button that you can just push, and you've pushed it, these touch buttons are terrible. And they make me want to scream at the people who thought that this was a good idea. Somebody did a lot of work to disinvent the button. There was nothing wrong with the button in the first place. It did not need disinventing. It'd be one thing if the touchscreen were letting them save on costs, but this thing cost $200, and the only component in here that could possibly be worth that is the like subtle fading light from red up to yellow up to white. But even that, I can't help but think could be easily a fraction of the cost. So I have to assume that most of the money is going to the designers, which is why they had to reinvent the whole thing, even though nothing was wrong with it in the first place except for the fact that it stopped working. And they replaced the components that were working fine, which is to say the hardware buttons, with more of the kind of capacitive touchy bullshit that was messing up on the original one. So, where does that leave us? I'm going to return this thing. It's worse than the previous model, and it costs more money. I'm going to see if my old one is now working again. Although I'm not really looking forward to waking up in the middle of the night to it going tick 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 like somebody's spamming one of the capacitive buttons on it. Not really excited about that prospect, but we'll try it a night or two and see if it, if it does that once, I'll chuck it. But I might just get a used one of these old ones on eBay, which would also let me not send more money to this company that is doing useless things with money, apparently. Anyway, so this has been a scathing review. What if it were good? Well, let's see. What would I like to be able to buy? It's hard to even say, like, what would I be happy to have spent $200 on? Because the $200 feels like more than I should have to spend for what I want here. But first, like, what's my ideal world? Like, what do I wish I saw when I went on Amazon? I would like something that went 3 to 10 times as bright as this. Like really substantial amounts of bright. Possibly even just like a rig that you plug your own dimmable lights into, and it just like dims them all at a particular time. I'd like the time that they get dimmed to be settable in some pretty straightforward hardware way and some simple way to make it happen or not happen. And it doesn't need to have, let's see. It doesn't need to have obviously it doesn't need to have sound from my perspective. I guess it kind of needs to have a clock face, but that's honestly not really the thing here. Like, as long as there's some way to tell what time the thing thinks it's set to, and as long, like, I can use a different thing as my bedside alarm clock. Like, I want something that really solves the problem of daytime at the time that I want daytime. What if it were good though? Yeah, so I mean, at the phase when the thing is like 10 times as bright, maybe at that point, like, realistically, I'm gonna have to like pay more money for the thing, because I mean, like, like LED bulbs are not that cheap, right? LEDs have come down a lot in cost, such that we can use them for stuff like that, but it's still not that cheap to get, lots of bright light from that. The other obvious way to solve this problem, right, is to have some sort of like Wi-Fi controlled light. I do happen to own some of those by this same brand that produced this new piece of shit. And they're pretty good. I mean, I have to control them with my phone, which isn't great if I want to like put my phone on airplane mode before I go to sleep, which has been a common workflow of mine. Then the other option is something more like a Wi-Fi controlled switch or something like that. And I've seen some friends who've had these. I haven't yet seen one of those that handles dimming though. Like, what's nice about this is it really does dawn on you in the morning. Like, it makes this gradual fade in. And so I thought maybe I would start with this new sunrise alarm clock, and then maybe at some point, when it actually gets to be, deep winter here in Canada, and the sun isn't actually rising until 9 a.m., but I ever want to get up at 8, which is rare, but I do sometimes like that. Then maybe I would get like a big honkin' like array of lights, and I would set those up on a timer so that they would go off at like kind of right around the time that the other light reached full brightness. So it would be like nighttime, daytime, and it would suddenly be like very daytime, and it would be like clearly just time to get up. Yeah. So, I mean, this feels like almost a difficult, but what if it were good though, because it's really extremely simple. It's like, I mean, I guess, okay, so this guy has a USB port on the back, right, for charging your cell phone or something. What it should have, in my opinion, and this would require a whole different cable to plug it into the wall, right? Like, this cable already has a transformer, so it's only, 24 watts coming in instead of 120 or whatever. But you could have one that plugs in with a full honkin' cable into the main device. And then this device, yeah, that's clearly the way to do it. That's clearly the way to do it. Okay, so what if it were good though? This device would have a similar UI, but with a few more hardware buttons. It could have some software button, some touchy buttons. Those are nice for little fiddly stuff, whatever. But a few more hardware buttons to do stuff like turn the alarm on and off and like manually control the thing. It could even have a fucking slider. Like that'd be pretty dope. Like just, the wall component of like a dimmer switch, right? Okay, so that, and then it has an outlet on the back, and that outlet has dimmer power. And so you plug into that outlet a series of lamps that you want to also come on at the same time, and they also come on. So you can have like a bunch of lights that all come on and get dimmed at the same time. And maybe there's a setting. I can see drawbacks to this, like if you try to dim a CFL, it certainly doesn't work, and I'm not sure if it's safe. Incandescents are dimmable, of course, and then so are LED bulbs, most of them. So that might be an issue. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. This is just looking at the sort of the design scale, but there is definitely a thing in terms of user experience to like people might try the thing and plug it into something and have it be unsafe. So that is a concern, right? What happens if you gradually turn the power on a stereo? Like with somebody, who wanted a radio feature that wasn't built into the thing. I mean, it's fine that it has a radio feature. It's just annoying that it doesn't have all the other things I want, and they've gone to all this bother to sort out all this noise stuff. But, if somebody tried to plug in a radio that had the power gradually turn on, like that would work if you had the radio just going and plugged into speakers whose power gradually turned on, maybe, but that's not really how you want to handle the amplitude for speakers. So, I mean, I could see people abusing the thing that I want, and that might be why it's not created. There's lots of other reasons why the thing that I might want doesn't exist yet. But as usual, I continue to think that the main reason that the thing I want does not exist is that not enough people have really paused and asked the question, but what if it were good? Instead, they ask, but what if it were a bagel? And so we get bagels. Thank you. I make no promises that there will be another episode if you hit subscribe, but you're welcome to smash that button if you would like. Seriously though, this may turn into a series. It might not. I make no guarantees. But I do have more product opinions that will definitely occur in my life, and there is something satisfying about ranting this into a video for all time, so that if somebody wants to hear my rant about this, I can be like, it's done. I did it. This is my take. My take exists. Yeah, I'm just going to hit the pause button and see if I think of anything else I want to add. Oh, hang on. I missed the pause button. I think that's pretty much it. This video brought to you by Buttons. Buttons are great. Highly recommended.